Most of our trips at Wheel and Anchor are about movement. You pick a country, string a handful of places together, and spend 2 weeks watching the road change outside the window. A LiveAway is the opposite instinct. You stop, you settle in somewhere, and you give yourself long enough that the cafe on the corner starts to recognize you. Long enough that the place stops being a destination and starts to feel a little like home, at least for a couple of weeks. The one I want to take you to today splits that idea across 2 towns. 2 weeks in Cyprus, half in the east, half in the west, on an island that in my experience gives back exactly as much as you're willing to slow down for. I've been to Cyprus a couple of times now, and 2 things get me every time. The first is the color of the sea. I can't quite describe it except to say it doesn't look like the water anywhere else. A clean, lit from below blue that you just can't stop looking at. The second is the people. Cypriots are about as warm and genuinely glad to see you as anyone I've traveled among. Over 2 weeks, it makes a difference, and particularly as Canadians, the extra friendly hospitality is very much welcomed. Cyprus is the 3rd largest island in the Mediterranean, out in its far eastern corner, closer to Beirut than to Athens. And everyone has come through here. The Greeks, Romans, the Crusaders, the Venetians, the Ottomans, and the British. All of them left something, and almost none of it is behind glass. Ancient ruins sometimes share a street with a schoolyard. But here's the thing about the island. Most of what's worth finding is either hiding in plain sight or halfway up a hill. Rush it and you'll drive straight past it. But give it 2 weeks and it starts to open up, which is exactly why we're here on a LiveAway. We split the 2 weeks between 2 towns, and they're deliberately not alike. The first week we're based in Larnaca, on the south coast, an easy, lived-in town where the ruins really do sit beside the schoolyards, and the sea is a 10-minute walk from almost anywhere in town. Larnaca is our hub for the eastern half of the island, the lace-making village of Lefkara, the wine country up in the Troodos Mountains, and Nicosia, divided capital an hour inland. Then we move west to Paphos for the second week. This was a Greek kingdom 3,000 years ago, and it still wears it. There's mosaics, rock-cut tombs, and the stretch of coast where Aphrodite is said to have risen out of the sea. From here, it's an easy reach to the Blue Lagoon and the empty headlands of the Akamas Peninsula. 2 bases, 1 island. You unpack twice, not 14 times. One day in the first week, we cross a line that by rights shouldn't still be there. Cyprus has been split since 1974, Greek Cypriot South, Turkish Cypriot North, and a UN buffer zone known as the Green Line in between. We Canadians will remember that for some 29 years our troops were stationed here as peacekeepers, a proud period in our history. It's here, right on that green line, that we find Nicosia, the last divided capital on Earth. To put that in some perspective, the wall here went up 13 years before the one in Berlin, and here in Cyprus, it's still standing 36 years after Berlin's came down. We walk across through the checkpoint into the northern half, a Gothic cathedral now serving as a mosque, an Ottoman inn with coffee stalls all around its courtyard, and then back south for lunch. It's a strange, quiet, thought-provoking few hours, and it's one of those things that stays with you.
Well, I'm a history buff, so I love history. And I think that one of the things that you should see is northern Cyprus, and particularly the ghost towns and the crumbling houses that you walk through where you're feeling so sad that this had happened.
She's talking about Varosha, a resort town on the east coast that was sealed off in 1974 and simply left. Empty hotels, weeds coming up through the streets, the whole place frozen mid-decade. There's an optional day out to see it alongside the Roman ruins at Salamis. We don't dress any of it up. We take you and we let the place do the talking. If one thread runs through the whole 2 weeks, it's food, and specifically food still made the way it's always been made. It starts on the second day with a walking tour of Larnaca that has nothing to do with sights and everything to do with eating. 5 stops, home cooking, 1 dessert, and a guide who's spent years tracing where all of it comes from. And it keeps going from there. Bread pulled straight from a wood-fired oven. A day in the Troodos Mountains with 2 small wineries pouring grapes you've never heard of. Ginesteria Maratheftico and Comanderia, a sweet wine once reserved for royal courts, still made up in these hills. And then there's halloumi. Cyprus's squeaky grilling cheese, which, on one of our days, you can make yourself by hand, still warm from the vat.
And I'll always remember Sophie, a wonderful lady who showed us how to make cheese and how to make the breads. And that will always remain with me.
And then there's meze, the long Cypriot table where the plates simply keep arriving until you give up. One of our members put it better than I could.
If you ever come to Cyprus and you like meze, you're going to be mezed out for the rest of at least for a year, because it's absolutely fantastic. And lots of meat, lots of chicken, lots of fish also, which are really nicely prepared.
The same instinct shows up in what people make with their hands. Lefkara has been turning out its particular lace since Venetian times and working its silver by hand for nearly as long. And you get to watch it being done, in the doorway in the village where it's almost always been done. The second week in Paphos tilts back into the ancient world, and most of it is simply out in the open. A UNESCO park where Roman villas still show their mosaic floors, the scenes as sharp as the day they were laid. The tombs of the kings, a necropolis cut straight down into the bedrock above the sea. And along the coast, Petra Trou Romiou, the rock where the myth places Aphrodite's birth out of the foam.
I would only have to see all the ancient ruins and mosaics and things that preserved for thousands of years, because don't see that in Canada. And they're amazing just to look at the workmanship and things that have survived for so long.
And because 2 weeks should hold something that isn't history, there's the Blue Lagoon. We drive up to Lachi, board a boat, and take a slow loop along the Akamas. Sea caves, empty coves, a whole stretch of coast with nothing built on it. Then drop anchor in water so clear you can count the stones on the bottom. It's bracing, but nobody seems to mind.
I think it was the Blue Lagoon and finally going swimming and in the freezing cold water, but it was so beautiful. That was one of my favorites.
There's a thing that happens 3 or 4 nights into a LiveAway. The group starts to feel like a group of friends. It starts off with a welcome cocktail. We call them Wheel and Anchor Mingles. You quickly find out that you're among Canadians who've traveled enough to know that the best part of a trip is usually the people you're on it with. One of our members caught the reason for it exactly.
I truly enjoyed being with Canadians because the ability to talk about towns and events and everything without a necessary explanation gave us a level of comfort that it takes weeks on another tour to gather.
By the second week, there's a rhythm to it. A few people you sit near at breakfast, a small group organizing their own dinners, their own long walks, and because everyone's in one place long enough, things come up on their own.
These spur-of-the-moment activities that came up, they were either offered by Gordon or by other people, but it allowed you opportunities. Hey, yes, let's go to a music venue. Let's hear the Blue Brothers. Or let's go take a yoga class. Or let's go for a long walk along the beach. Those kinds of things really added to the dimension of a LiveAway.
The dinners we organize are the bookends. Everything good in between happens because you've got the time for it to.
2 weeks in one place, 2 weeks in the other. You have time to settle in. You have time to discover all the little nicks and corners that you really feel like you want to discover. Go back to 1, 2, 3 times if you feel like it, which is completely different from being like 2 days somewhere and 1 day in the other and pack your suitcase and go.
That's the whole idea, really. Cyprus isn't just a place you see, it's a place you stay in long enough to let it come to you. The sea, the people, the food, the layers of everyone who ever passed through. 2 weeks, a small group of Canadians, and an island in no particular hurry. If that's the kind of travel you've been looking for, everything you need is below. We'd love to have you join us.